Hi, my name is Carl. This isn't really thought out all that well, so we're not too sure how it's going to go. So there's a couple of different ways to cut crown. You can cut it where it is leaned up against the fence, where it's basically upside down. You want the, can't really see that well, you want the back portion of the crown here to be sitting flat against your fence, because that's what's going to be sitting flat against your cabinets. It's pretty straightforward and easy to do. All you have to do is cut it at a 45. Some people get confused cutting their crown upside down as to what's left and what's right. I'm not a huge fan of doing it this way because most of the crown I use isn't this small. This is just 2 1/4 crown. And I use a smaller saw. I think this is a 7 1/2 inch blade Makita. I like the smaller blades because they tend to wander less as they're cutting. But it's pretty straightforward and easy to make the cuts. So that would be our miter for our one side. And that would be the miter for the other. So that's what would give you your 90-degree corner. It works well for smaller crown. If you have a saw that has a larger fence, you can go to more mid-sized crowns that have, like 3 1/4, 4 1/4. Sometimes you can stand those up against the fence as well. But when you start getting into larger crown, like this is 6 3/4, I think. There's no way you're going to be able to lean that up against the fence. The rise on it alone is 4 3/4, so it's just not going to work. So what you end up doing when you're doing a larger crown like that, and I prefer to do it that way anyway, is you do a compound bevel cut on it. So on my saw, there's a little chart on the side as to what your bevel and what your angle needs to be. I've got a scrap of cherry crown. It's 38-degree crown. Typically, I can only think of the 2 that I've seen that are commercially available. There's 38-degree type and 45-degree type. So I've got 38-degree type. So I look over here, my bevel is 33.9 degrees, and I know there's a tick mark on here anyways for my bevel cut. And then for my miter angle, it's 31.6 degrees. So I've just set that to where it needs to be. And use my brain here. So then our crown's going to sit flat. So this part is sitting against the deck of the miter saw. We're going to cut our right piece first. And I like to come back and just nibble at it a little bit. Typically you're cutting to a line, so I like to cut it long and then come back and nibble away at it a little bit. Just to make sure that I'm getting as clean a cut as possible, so it's just removing just a freckle. So, and I should have done this a little differently. So we'll go back to our 31.6 on the other side. I've already got a miter on here, but it doesn't matter. And that's your 90 for your outside corner. Now for doing the insides, it's still the same angles because you're still working the same math. It'll be our 33.9 or whatever it was, and then 31.6. Now this part, sometimes I have trouble wrapping my head around it for what the heck I'm doing. It's one of those things, once you get in the groove of it, it's pretty easy to do and maintain, but if you start thinking about it too hard, then it just doesn't happen well. Same thing, we'll come back over to our 31.6. And that's not right. See, thinking, that's right. So, and that's what will give us our inside corner. I typically don't miter unless it's just a small return. When I'm doing inside corners, usually I like to cope. There's no nostalgia tied to it or anything. It's easier. You've got more fudge factor. You can cheat things around a little more easily. It's a little more robust of a joint. And if it's off a little bit, it doesn't show. So that's the best way to do it. Sorry about the crappy footage. Taken with my phone. Everything's backwards because of that. Talk to you later.